It's often the first question whispered through tears when a relationship ends, especially when it ends without clarity, without closure, without compassion. Why wasn't I enough for them? Enough is a moving target in love, especially when you're dealing with someone who doesn't even know what they're looking for. You could have been the most loyal, emotionally available, loving version of yourself, and it still wouldn't have made them stay. Not because you weren't enough, but because they weren't ready, or honest, or emotionally equipped to meet the kind of love you offered. The myth that love is something we earn by performing perfectly, by being prettier, smarter, more patient, or more understanding, is toxic. It puts the blame on the heart that gave, not the one that couldn't receive. You weren't too much. You weren't too little. You weren't lacking. You were just loving someone who wasn't capable of seeing the gift right in front of them. People show up in relationships with everything they've carried: childhood trauma, past heartbreaks, unmet emotional needs, baggage they haven't unpacked. When someone hurts you, leaves you, or disconnects from you, their actions are often a reflection of their own internal chaos, not your shortcomings. Maybe they were emotionally unavailable. Maybe they mistook intensity for intimacy. Maybe they only knew how to chase, not how to stay. Maybe they thought love meant control or escape or chaos. Whatever the reason, it was the way they loved, or failed to, that broke the bond, not who you were. You didn't ruin anything by being yourself. You simply loved someone who couldn't match the energy, commitment, or emotional depth you brought to the table. Sometimes, you are more than what someone is ready for. Your light, your love, your expectations, your growth, it can all be too much for someone who's still hiding from themselves. You were never meant to dim your light just to be seen by someone who lives in shadows. Being with someone who lacks emotional maturity, self-awareness, or self-love is like trying to build a castle on sand. No matter how beautiful your intentions are, it won't stand. It's not your fault they didn't have the foundation. Capacity isn't about effort. It's about emotional bandwidth. And you can't expand someone's capacity by shrinking yourself. Let's be real. Not every relationship ends because it just didn't work. Some people come into our lives to take, to drain, to feed their egos, mask their insecurities, or avoid their loneliness. And they do it by disguising their intentions as love. You gave them presence, loyalty, emotional labor. They gave you breadcrumbs, silence, and confusion. That wasn't love, it was a transaction. And the fact that you kept giving, trying, explaining, fixing proves how deep your capacity to love really is. But here's the thing, you can't love someone into becoming who they promised they'd be. They didn't leave because you lacked something. They left because they took everything and still felt empty. Heartbreak often feels so devastating because it leaves us with more questions than answers. You keep wondering, what could I have done differently? Why wasn't I the one? What made them stop choosing me? But closure isn't something they can give you, especially if they were emotionally dishonest or manipulative. True closure is when you decide that you don't need their explanation to heal. You don't need their validation to feel worthy. You don't need their apology to move forward. You were enough, even when they didn't recognize it. Their inability to love you was their own limitation. And you're allowed to grieve without blaming yourself. You don't have to beg the right person to stay. You don't have to over-explain, over-function, or convince them of your worth. The right love comes with clarity, not chaos. With presence, not excuses. With consistency, not mixed signals. If they made you question your value, they were never aligned with your future. You were enough. They just weren't the one. That's a painful truth, but also a liberating one. Because once you stop chasing answers from the wrong source, you start making room for something real, for someone who shows up, for a love that doesn't make you feel hard to love. You've evolved. You've outgrown people, patterns, and pain you once tolerated. That growth means you're going to need more from love, more honesty, more emotional depth, more safety. And that's not too much. That's exactly what you should want. Being enough was never the question. The real question is, were they capable of meeting the version of you that finally knew what she deserved? When the answer is no, the only loving choice is to walk away. It feels like it is. When love ends, it feels like everything else ends too. Hope, trust, joy. You wonder if you'll ever find someone who understands you like they did. You wonder if love will ever feel safe again. But here's the truth. Your life didn't stop when they left. It just shifted. This ending is not punishment. It's protection. It's an invitation to come home to yourself, to remember who you are, to stop seeking validation in someone else's brokenness, to choose peace over patterns, to write the next chapter with clarity, not desperation. And when you do, love will come again. But this time, it'll meet you at your level. Healing isn't just about moving on from them. It's about moving deeper into you. It's about asking, where did I abandon myself? Why did I stay when I was being drained? What wounds in me were attracted to their dysfunction? How can I love myself better so I never settle again? It's about reparenting the parts of you that thought love had to be earned. It's about grieving the version of you that tolerated pain as connection. It's about finally choosing you, the whole, messy, beautiful you. You're not healing to get them back. You're healing so you never betray yourself again for the sake of staying loved. Let's bring it back. That question, why wasn't I enough for them? It's not really about them. It's about the wound that existed long before they arrived. The one that asks, am I lovable if I'm not perfect? Am I worthy even when someone leaves? Yes. You were enough before they came. You were enough while they were breaking your heart. You're enough now, even as you piece yourself back together. You are enough even when someone chooses someone else, even when they ghost, even when they lie, even when they don't fight for you, especially then. Because your worth isn't defined by who stays. It's defined by who you are when everything falls apart, and you keep loving, rising, choosing yourself anyway. So don't shrink, shine. The next time you hear that whisper, why wasn't I enough? Answer it with truth. You were, you are, you always will be. Their departure doesn't mean you were lacking. It just means they weren't meant to carry the weight of your heart. Let them go. Let the pain pass. Let the lesson land. And then rise. Because the woman who rises from heartbreak with her dignity intact, her heart open and her standards higher, she doesn't just find love again. She becomes love. If you've ever asked yourself, why wasn't I enough for them? Know this, you were never the problem. Their inability to see your worth doesn't take away your value. You are more than enough. And if this message stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share your story in the comments. Subscribe for more truth, healing, and heart-to-hearts. And if you're on a journey to rediscover your worth, this space is definitely for you. Let's heal, grow, and rise together. Thanks for watching.